Most people doing keto or fasting genuinely believe they're doing everything right. They've cut carbs, tightened their eating windows, maybe even added in some training, yet the results come in slow, inconsistent, or worse, completely stall. And this is where the frustration sets in. They think they've hit a plateau, that their metabolism has adapted, or that fasting simply doesn't work for them. But the truth is, it's not the diet that's broken, it's the protein strategy behind it. See, most people overlook the single most important element of body recomposition, how protein interacts with your metabolism. When protein timing, quality, and intake are even slightly off, your body can't burn fat efficiently, it can't preserve lean muscle, and it definitely can't stabilize insulin. You end up stuck in metabolic limbo, not quite burning fat, not quite building muscle, just maintaining a frustrating middle ground that keeps you looking and feeling the same week after week. Here's the science. Protein isn't just a macronutrient, it's a metabolic signal. Every time you eat, your body reads that signal. And if the signal is weak or mistimed, your body shifts away from fat burning. But when you get that signal right, when you hit the right protein threshold at the right time, everything changes. Fat oxidation ramps up, insulin sensitivity improves, energy becomes stable, and mental focus sharpens. This is what I call the hidden protein formula, a method that aligns the body's hormonal environment with true fat loss efficiency. It's not about eating more or less, it's about eating smarter in a way that supports fasting, enhances recovery, and keeps muscle metabolism active even in a calorie deficit. Once you understand how to apply this, the frustrating slow burn turns into a rapid, steady transformation. This is the missing link between average results and extraordinary success on keto or fasting. When people start keto or fasting, they expect their metabolism to ignite like a furnace. They expect fat to start melting, energy to rise, focus to sharpen. But after a few weeks, reality sets in, the scale stalls, strength drops, and the spark fades. This doesn't happen because keto or fasting stops working. It happens because protein precision was never part of the equation. Most people lower calories, eat less often, and assume that less food equals more fat loss. What they don't realize is that the body is constantly adapting, and if protein intake is too low or mistimed, the metabolism doesn't stay elevated. If downshifts, your body runs on adaptive intelligence. When energy is scarce, it looks for ways to survive. And the first step in survival isn't burning fat, it's conserving it low, or mistimed protein intake sends a stress signal to the brain that says, we're starving. In response, cortisol rises, thyroid activity slows, and the body begins preserving fat stores while breaking down muscle tissue for energy. Muscle is metabolically active, meaning it burns calories even at rest. Lose that and your metabolic rate declines. You might lose a little weight early on, but it's not the kind of weight you want. It's lean tissue, not fat. This is why many people who fast aggressively or go too low on protein start to feel cold, tired, or mentally foggy. Their metabolism has shifted gears from burning fuel to conserving it. They're running on survival mode, burning fewer calories, producing less energy, and holding onto body fat like it's gold. You can't outfast biology. If the body senses protein deficiency, it shuts down fat oxidation and goes into protection mode. Protein, in contrast, tells the body that you're fed and capable of growth. When protein intake is high enough and timed right, it triggers muscle protein synthesis, stabilizes blood sugar, and keeps cortisol in check. This combination keeps the metabolism in a fed yet fasting state, a paradox that allows fat burning to continue even when you're not eating. That's the key difference between fat loss and starvation. In fat loss, your body burns stored energy because it feels safe doing so. In starvation, it clings to energy and burns lean tissue to survive. The difference can be as simple as 20 to 30 extra grams of protein a day, or shifting your protein window to better align with your body's rhythm. Eat too little early in the day and cortisol spikes. Your stress hormones run high, blood sugar swings, and hunger later becomes uncontrollable. But if you anchor your first meal or post-fast meal around high quality protein, animal-based bioavailable and complete in amino acids. You flip the hormonal switch, insulin stabilizes, hunger drops, and fat oxidation begins. Your body feels safe enough to release stored fat because it has the raw materials, amino acids, to preserve lean tissue. Most people on keto or fasting don't fail from lack of discipline. They fail from lack of protein precision. They cut calories, but also cut the very nutrient that drives the metabolism. They fast, but never signal the body to hold onto muscle. They think less food equals more progress, but what the body hears is danger. Slow down. You can only push that stress signal for so long before your thyroid slows, your energy drops, and your results vanish. The fix isn't complicated. It's controlled protein intake, enough to signal growth, but not so much that it breaks your fast too early. It's about understanding that every gram of protein tells your body what to do next: burn fat or save it, build muscle or break it down. Once you master that signal, keto and fasting stop being guesswork. The fat loss becomes consistent, energy returns, sleep improves. And instead of fighting your biology, you're finally working with it. When protein is precise in timing, quality, and quantity, it transforms fasting from a stressor into a tool. The metabolism stops defending itself and starts performing. This is the hidden link most people miss, and once you correct it, your body stops surviving and starts thriving. Most people believe that fasting is simply about not eating. They think that as long as they avoid food long enough, their body will automatically shift into fat burning mode. But what actually determines whether you burn fat or lose muscle during fasting isn't just when you stop eating, it's when you break that fast and what you break it with. That's where protein timing becomes the silent force that controls your results. When you understand this timing, fasting stops being a catabolic stress and becomes an anabolic recovery tool. The body runs on cycles, fed and fasted, building and repairing. When you fast, you push your body into a breakdown mode. That's not bad. In fact, it's what activates autophagy, cellular cleanup, and fat oxidation. But go too long without giving your body the right signal at the right time, and the stress becomes chronic. Cortisol rises, amino acid pools deplete, and muscle protein synthesis stalls. You start burning the wrong tissue. The fix isn't eating more often. It's about sending the right message through protein timing. When you introduce high quality protein immediately after your fasting window, something powerful happens. Your body is hypersensitive to amino acids. It's primed to absorb and utilize them efficiently. This post-fast protein intake spikes muscle protein synthesis and reactivates your metabolism. The thermic effect of protein, the energy your body burns just to digest and process it, is up to 5 times higher than that of carbs or fat. So the simple act of breaking your fast with a strategic dose of protein doesn't just stop muscle loss, it accelerates calorie burn. You literally ignite thermogenesis at the cellular level. The first meal after fasting should be rich in complete protein, ideally from animal sources like beef, eggs, or fish, because these contain the full spectrum of essential amino acids, especially leucine. Leucine acts as a metabolic trigger. It signals the MTR pathway, the mechanism that turns protein into new muscle tissue. Without this activation, your body stays in a catabolic state longer than necessary. But once that leucine threshold is hit, usually around 2.5 to 3 grams, or roughly 25-30 grams of high quality protein, the switch flips. Your body transitions from breakdown to repair, from survival to growth. Now, timing isn't just about the end of the fast. It's also about how you distribute protein throughout your eating window. Many people undereat protein early and overload it late, which limits how much can be utilized effectively. The body doesn't store amino acids like it stores fat. It needs a steady, rhythmic signal to keep metabolism elevated and muscle protein synthesis active. If you eat in a 6-hour window, spacing your protein into 2 strong pulses, one at the start and one near the end, can keep your body in a constant state of metabolic activation. Between those meals, your body burns fat efficiently while preserving lean tissue. Research shows that timing protein intake right after fasting doesn't blunt the benefits of fasting. It enhances them. It stabilizes glucose response, reduces cortisol and keeps thyroid function optimal. It's the difference between fasting for healthy and fasting for performance. People who ignore protein timing often feel sluggish after breaking their fast, while those who prioritize it report sustained energy, sharper focus, and better recovery. That's because they're supporting their hormonal environment, not fighting it. Even during deep fasting states, protein timing has an indirect effect. When you consistently break fasts the right way, your body learns to adapt. It spares muscle more effectively and ramps up fat oxidation sooner in each subsequent fast. It's metabolic conditioning. The body becomes more efficient at shifting between fuel sources because it trusts that amino acids will come when needed. This trust is biological, lowers stress hormones and raises growth hormone levels, further amplifying fat burning and repair. The science is clear. Fasting without strategic protein timing is like training hard without recovery. You get diminishing returns. But when protein hits your system at the right moment, you multiply the benefits of fasting. You preserve the muscle that keeps your metabolism fast. You stoke thermogenesis with every bite, and you extend fat burning even while you rest. That's how timing transforms fasting from a simple discipline into a metabolic weapon. When it comes to transforming your body through keto or fasting, not all protein is created equal. You can eat the same number of grams, hit the same calorie target, and still experience drastically different results depending on where that protein comes from. The biological truth is simple as animal protein outperforms plant protein in almost every key metabolic category: fat loss, satiety, and hormonal balance. The difference isn't ideological, it's physiological. Your body recognizes and uses animal protein with far greater efficiency because it's built from the same amino acid structures that make up your own muscle tissue. Animal proteins from beef, eggs, fish, poultry are what we call complete proteins. They contain all 9 essential amino acids in the right ratios for human metabolism. Plant proteins, on the other hand, are incomplete or imbalanced. You might get enough total protein on paper, but your body doesn't get the right building blocks to support muscle repair or hormonal stability. For fat loss, that matters because the more efficiently your body can rebuild and preserve lean tissue, the faster your metabolism runs and the more fat you oxidize. Bioavailability is another critical factor. Animal-based protein sources like steak or eggs have absorption rates upwards of 90-95%, while most plant proteins hover between 57%. That gap adds up. If you're relying primarily on plant sources, you're essentially underfeeding your body. Even when the numbers look right, you're getting less usable protein, less stimulation of muscle protein synthesis, and less thermic effect, meaning your metabolism burns fewer calories processing it. Animal protein, on the other hand, triggers a higher thermogenic response, meaning more of the energy from that meal goes directly into metabolic activity rather than storage. Then there's satiety. Animal proteins naturally come packaged with nutrients that regulate appetite, like fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, K2, as well as creatine, carnitine, and B12, compounds you simply don't get in meaningful amounts from plants. These nutrients support the hormonal environment that controls hunger and energy. A steak doesn't just fill your stomach, it quiets your hunger hormones for hours because it stabilizes insulin and triggers glucagon, hormone that tells your body to release stored fat. That balance between insulin and glucagon is the real key to sustainable fat loss. When you eat high-quality animal protein, insulin rises just enough to shuttle amino acids into muscle cells, while glucagon simultaneously signals fat release from adipose tissue. It's a perfectly balanced dance between building and burning, one that plant-based proteins fail to reproduce because they often cause disproportionate insulin spikes due to their carbohydrate content. The result, less efficient fat mobilization and more blood sugar fluctuation. Over time, this creates a hormonal environment that promotes storage, not oxidation. Beyond the metabolic side, animal protein also supports hormonal health in a way that plant sources cannot. The amino acids found in animal foods, particularly leucine, methionine, and lysine, are essential for synthesizing hormones like testosterone, growth hormone, and thyroid hormones. These aren't just muscle hormones, they're metabolic drivers. They determine how efficiently your body burns fat, how well you recover, and how much energy you can sustain through fasting. When these hormones are optimized, your body naturally stays in a fat burning state even at rest. And let's not ignore the practical side, satiety and sustainability. When you eat animal-based meals rich in protein and fat, you stay full for longer. That's not just a psychological advantage, it's biochemical. Protein-rich animal foods suppress ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and elevate peptide YY and leptin, hormones that tell your brain, I'm satisfied. This hormonal signal control is what makes fasting easier and more sustainable. You don't white knuckle through hunger because your body isn't panicking for nutrients. People often overlook the hidden advantage of animal protein in fat loss. It trains the body to use fat as a steady energy source by providing a consistent supply of amino acids without spiking insulin. Animal-based nutrition enhances mitochondrial function, your body's energy factories, and keeps fat oxidation high. That's why carnivore and high-protein keto diets outperform plant-based versions when it comes to metabolic consistency. The body doesn't get confused by fluctuating nutrient quality or incomplete amino acid patterns. It simply runs cleaner and more efficiently. In the end, the debate about animal versus plant protein isn't about ideology, it's about biology. Your body wasn't designed to thrive on incomplete, hard to digest proteins that come with antinutrients and fiber-bound amino acids. It was built to thrive on dense, bioavailable, nutrient-rich animal foods that support muscle retention, hormonal health, and steady fat loss. When you fuel with that kind of precision, your metabolism doesn't just work, it performs. You stop surviving between meals and start thriving through every fasting window, every workout, and every day that you feed your body what it was truly designed to use. Most people trying to lose fat or build muscle operate on guesswork. They hear phrases like ate enough protein or get 1 gram per pound, but few actually understand what that means for their body, their lifestyle, or their specific goals. That's where the protein formula comes in, a framework that makes this process scientific instead of random. Once you understand how to calculate and apply your protein intake, you'll stop guessing and start guiding your metabolism with precision. The goal isn't just to eat more protein, it's to eat the right amount for your physiology, activity level, and fasting structure. The first step is understanding what protein actually does in the body. It's not just for muscle, it's the foundation of your enzymes, hormones, immune system, and even neurotransmitters. When you're fasting or in a calorie deficit, your body constantly breaks down old protein structures and rebuilds them. If your intake doesn't meet that demand, the body will take from its own reserves your muscle tissue, which slows metabolism and disrupts hormonal balance. So the right amount of protein isn't arbitrary. It's the minimum required to protect your lean mass while promoting fat oxidation. Let's start with a simple rule, as your daily protein target should be based on lean body mass, not total body weight. Most people don't need to eat protein for their fat stores. They need it for their functional tissue. The formula begins at a 0.8 to 1.0 grams of protein per pound of lean mass for general maintenance. If your goal is aggressive fat loss or muscle preservation during extended fasting, that number can climb to 1 to 1.4 grams per pound of lean mass. For example, someone who weighs 180 pounds at 20% body fat has around 144 pounds of lean tissue. Their daily protein range for optimal fat loss would be roughly 145 to 200 grams. The second factor is as activity level. The more physically active you are, resistance training, sprinting, heavy labor, the higher your protein demand. Every workout creates micro tears in muscle tissue that need amino acids for repair. Even endurance exercise increases protein oxidation. If you train 3 to 5 times a week, aim for the higher end of your range. If you're more sedentary or recovering, the lower end will suffice. The beauty of protein is that even at higher intakes, it's self-limiting. The body simply uses what it needs, and the rest is converted minimally to glucose through gluconeogenesis, a slow, controlled process that won't knock you out of fat burning mode. The third piece of the formula is fasting length. As the longer you go without eating, the more strategic your protein distribution needs to be. In a short 16-8 fast, 2 high protein meals, roughly 35-50 grams each, may be enough to hit your daily target. But in longer fasts like 23-4 or alternate, day fasting, you need a denser protein intake once you break the fast. Think of it like refueling after a long flight. The body's demand for amino acid spikes, so you give it a concentrated dose of 50-80 grams in that first meal, trigger muscle protein synthesis and restore nitrogen balance. The key is hitting your daily total, not forcing constant feeding. Protein should be seen as a signal, not a snack. When you hit your protein threshold per meal, usually around 25-30 grams of high quality animal protein, you trigger an anabolic response that lasts several hours. Eating below that threshold repeatedly means you're never fully activating muscle protein synthesis. It's like flicking a light switch halfway, the signal never completes. So rather than grazing on small, incomplete meals, focus on 2 to 3 protein dominant meals that each cross that activation threshold. Adjustments come down to feedback. If you're losing strength, feeling fatigued, or your weight loss has stalled, you're likely under consuming protein. If you're bloated or constantly full, you may be overdoing it. In a single sitting, spread it more evenly. For those doing extended fasting cycles, slightly increasing protein intake on refeed days helps prevent lean mass loss and restores metabolic drive without promoting fat storage. The final part of the formula is quality, because numbers mean nothing without bioavailability. Animal-based proteins deliver a more complete amino acid profile and greater absorption, which means you need less total volume to get the same effect. So a 40-gram serving of beef protein is far more powerful than 40 grams of incomplete plant protein. Once you apply this formula, lean mass, activity, fasting adjustment, you eliminate guesswork. You know exactly how much your body needs, when to consume it, and how to time it for your fasting schedule. It turns protein from a diet buzzword into a precision tool. When protein intake is personalized, your metabolism stabilizes, energy stays consistent, and fat loss becomes predictable. It's not about restriction anymore. It's about optimization, fueling your biology in alignment with how it was designed to perform. Transforming your body composition isn't just about cutting calories or extending your fasting window. It's about strategically integrating protein in a way that rebuilds metabolism, accelerates fat loss, and locks in long-term results. That's what the B3 phase protein integration plan is designed to do. It's a step-by-step system that walks your metabolism from stress and stagnation back into strength and efficiency. Each phase builds on the last, first resetting your metabolic signals, then accelerating fat oxidation, and finally sustaining the transformation with hormonal stability. Our phase 1 reset is where everything begins. The goal here is to rebuild a sluggish metabolism by increasing protein density and eliminating the constant insulin spikes that keep your body stuck in storage mode. Most people who come from high carb, frequent meal patterns have a body that no longer trusts its own fuel systems. It's adapted to sugar and cortisol instead of fat and amino acids. In this phase, you flip that script. You raise protein intake to roughly 35-40% of total calories while cutting out refined carbohydrates and ultra-processed fats. Each meal becomes centered on high-quality animal protein, beef, eggs, fish, or poultry, supported by low-insulin vegetables and clean fats. Within days, hunger stabilizes, cravings disappear, and your body begins to recognize protein as its primary metabolic signal again. Cortisol drops, insulin sensitivity improves, and energy returns. This is the foundation, a recalibration of hormones and nutrient signaling that prepares your body for deeper fat burning in the next phase. Once the metabolic engine is reset, you move into phase 20 and accelerate. This is where the real transformation happens. The goal here is maximum fat oxidation while maintaining every ounce of lean tissue. You introduce structured fasting windows, typically 16-8 or 24-4, but with targeted protein refeeds. Instead of random fasting, each cycle is intentional. You spend your fasting hours in a deep fat burning state, then break the fast with a precise high protein refeed that floods your body with amino acids. This post-fast meal acts as a metabolic amplifier. It spikes thermogenesis, repairs muscle tissue, and boosts growth hormone. The combination of fasting and protein cycling creates a powerful hormonal rhythm. Insulin stays low during the fast. Glucagon stays high to release stored fat, and MTR activates upon refeed to build and preserve muscle. Over time, the body becomes metabolically flexible, burning fat efficiently while keeping strength intact. Many people notice that their weight begins to drop faster during this phase, but more importantly, their body composition changes, less fat, tighter muscle, higher energy. The key to the accelerate phase is balance. You can't push fasting endlessly without adequate protein recovery. For every 203 fasting days, you incorporate a deliberate protein refeed day, not a cheat day, but a metabolic recharge. Think of it as reminding your body that it's not starving. These refeeds restore glycogen, just enough for performance, reset thyroid function, and reinforce muscle retention. The fat loss continues, but now it's sustainable. You're no longer burning muscle to stay lean. You're burning fat because your metabolism is optimized to do so. Then comes phase 30, sustain. This is where short-term fat loss turns into long-term mastery. Once you've rebuilt your metabolic health and achieved a leaner body, the focus shifts from intensity to consistency. You continue prioritizing protein in every meal, but you relax the rigidity of your fasting schedule. The goal is to maintain the hormonal environment that keeps you lean, strong, and energized. Protein remains the anchor, around 1 gram per pound of lean mass, ensuring muscle preservation and metabolic stability. You begin eating more intuitively, guided by hunger and recovery rather than the clock. Some days that means 1 large protein dominant meal. Other days it means 2 moderate meals with longer recovery between fasts. During this phase, you're not chasing progress, you're protecting it. Hormones like leptin and thyroid normalize, energy stabilizes, and you can sustain fat burning without the extremes. Because your protein strategy is dialed in, you can handle occasional dietary flexibility without losing metabolic control. You've built a body that burns fat as its default setting, not because you're forcing it, but because it's efficient, resilient, and hormonally balanced. Each phase of this plan has a purpose: reset the system, accelerate the burn, sustain the result. When followed in order, teaches your metabolism how to adapt intelligently instead of defensively. The end result isn't just weight loss, it's a permanent shift in how your body uses energy. You're no longer at war with food or fasting schedules. You're in alignment with the biology that's been designed to keep you lean and strong for life. Most diets fail for the same reason. They rely on willpower instead of biology. People cut calories, push through hunger, and celebrate short-term results, only to find themselves gaining it all back once their discipline fades. The cycle repeats: restrict, lose, rebound, repeat. But there's a way to break that pattern permanently, and it doesn't depend on fighting your body. It depends on fueling it correctly. When you build your lifestyle around proper protein intake, not as a temporary tactic, but as a lifelong foundation, fat loss stops being a struggle and starts being automatic. Protein is more than a nutrient. It's the body's metabolic stabilizer. It regulates hunger, supports lean mass, and keeps your energy steady from morning to night. When you prioritize protein, you eliminate the biggest trigger behind yo-yo dieting. Unstable blood sugar. Low protein diets leave you chasing quick energy fixes because your body lacks the amino acids it needs to maintain glucose balance and hormonal stability. But when every meal begins with a strong dose of complete protein, insulin stays controlled, glucagon rises, and fat oxidation becomes your body's baseline. You don't crave sugar because your brain and muscles already have what they need. You don't experience crashes because protein extends energy release for hours. Over time, this rewires your hunger signals. You stop eating because you're bored or stressed. You eat because your body genuinely needs fuel. In fasting, principle becomes even more powerful. When you combine fasting with a protein-centered approach, you create a metabolic state that's both efficient and forgiving. During fasting hours, your body shifts into fat burning mode, using stored energy instead of relying on constant food intake. When you break that fast with a high protein meal, you reinforce that signal telling your metabolism that it's safe to keep burning fat because lean tissue is protected. This is what separates healthy fasting from starvation. In starvation, the body slows down to survive. In protein-supported fasting, the body accelerates because it's being guided, not deprived. Long-term fat control isn't about eating less forever. It's about maintaining the hormonal rhythm that allows your body to self-regulate. Protein is at the center of that rhythm. It manages the conversation between insulin, glucagon, cortisol, and leptin, the hormones that dictate whether you're in storage mode or fat burning mode. When you skip protein, that conversation breaks down. Insulin spikes too high, cortisol rises, cravings increase, and you end up trapped in cycles of hunger and fatigue. But when protein intake is steady, those hormones synchronize. You experience consistent energy, deep satiety, and effortless portion control, not because you're forcing it, but because your body's communication systems are finally working properly. This is the long-term fix for anyone tired of chasing diets. You don't need to jump from keto to fasting to low carb and back again. You need to build a foundation around protein that fits within whatever structure you prefer. Whether you fast for 16 hours or eat 3 balanced meals, the principle remains the same: protein first. Once protein is in place, the rest of your diet becomes flexible. Carbs and fats can adjust according to activity, preference, or recovery. But your metabolic baseline, the ability to burn fat efficiently, remains constant. People who master this don't experience rebound weight gain because they never crash their metabolism in the first place. Their muscle mass stays intact, their hormones stay stable, and their hunger stays predictable. Over time, this creates what could be called metabolic freedom, the ability to maintain your ideal body composition without micromanaging every calorie. You can fast when you want, feast when appropriate, and still maintain steady energy and leanness. That's the real goal, not short-term fat loss, but lifelong control. The beauty of protein-centered fasting is that it adapts with you. As you age, train, or shift your goals, the same principle applies. You maintain muscle, protect bone density, and keep your metabolism high even when calories drop. You avoid the hormonal slowdown that comes with chronic dieting because your body never feels threatened. It feels supported. Energy remains stable, mood improves, and fat loss stays effortless. Proper protein habits don't just change your physique, they change your physiology. They eliminate the guesswork and emotion around food and replace it with balance and clarity. When protein drives your nutrition, fasting becomes easier, recovery becomes faster, and fat loss becomes consistent. You no longer need to restart every few months because you've found the system that your body was designed for. The long-term fix isn't in restriction, it's in precision. Protein is that precision. When it's applied correctly, your metabolism stops fighting you and starts working for you for life.